Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Depending on where you are in this world, God bless you. This is Gloria White coming to you from Utah, USA. I've just been praying to God about Daniel chapter 11. And I'm asking Him to speak through me to give clarity and precision and accuracy of the events that happen here in the book of Daniel in chapter 11. Now, chapter 11 is divided into two parts. It is in the near future following Daniel's life, and then the far future concerning the end times. And so if we can keep that in our mind, that will help. The other thing to keep in our mind is that the kings of the north and the south, the king of the north and the king of the south are Syria and Egypt. And here in between is Israel. So they get buffeted depending on who's in power, who's fighting who. It's all of this has repercussions on Israel that's stuck in the middle. And when we get down towards the final chapters, we're going to see that this vile king rises up and he comes against the king of the north. But the king of the north enlists the help of the Romans. And the Romans, together with the army of the Egyptians, which are the king of the south, they defeat this vile man that has taken over the title. It's not really royalty, so he comes in with intrigues and flatteries and gains control of the Seleucid dynasty. And when he does that, then that's when he tries to go against the king of the south, and that would be the Ptolemy dynasty, and they enlist the help of the Roman Empire. And this is where Rome gets its foot in the door. And so after Antiochus, who is this vile person that rises to power, when he is defeated by the Roman army in a battle on the sea, they take him and he is standing on the beach. A Roman general comes up to him and draws a line in the sand around him and says, "Are you going to give up and serve Rome or not? And you have to make this decision before you step out of this circle." So he decides that he will serve Rome. But on his way back to Syria, he passes through Israel. And he causes so much destruction. He goes into the temple of God and sets up an image of Zeus. He sacrifices a pig on the altar of God, which is a totally unclean animal for the Jews. Doesn't affect us now because that's different. But then, that was total sacrilege. He did everything he could by flatteries and intrigue to draw the Jews away from God. By flatteries and also by fear. And many of them fell down before this Antiochus and did as he said. And they got rid of their sacrifices. They stopped following God's covenant, and they fell in with the Gentiles and worshiped their gods and did all this to save their life. To save their lives, this is what they did. They turned their back on God. But those that stood for God and refused to give up on God and following God's covenant paid a heavy price. They paid a very heavy price. They were tortured. They endured incredible hardship. I won't get into all of the details on that. I have read the first Maccabees. You can go down and check that out yourself and see the horrors. But here in verse 32, there's hope. And this doesn't just apply to the people then. It applies to us now. Now, in this age, we are in the end times. But let this be an encouragement to you. Verse 32, Daniel chapter 11. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall be corrupted by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits, or take action. How do they take action? They stand against the evil. They stand up against it, even if it costs them their life, their mortal life. They wouldn't turn their back on God. So let's read chapter 11. Also I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I, stood to confirm and to strengthen him. Now who is this speaking? This is the angel that God has sent to Daniel to explain what Daniel has seen in his visions. Now this is going to cover a period of about 375 years, from after Daniel till the beginning of the New Testament. And now I will show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up, or arise, yet 3 kings in Persia. And the fourth shall be far richer than they all. And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Grecia, or Greece. Now, here are these remaining 3 kings up to the 4th king of Persia, before Alexander the Great. So we have Cambyses, which is the son of Cyrus. Then we have Pseudo-Simurgus, Darius the First, and Xerxes, which is also known as Ahasuerus, out of the book of Esther. And he was very powerful. And he got it in his head that he was going to go and have this battle and come against Greece. Well, it just so happened that, verse 3, and a mighty king shall stand up, or arise, that shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will. This is Alexander the Great. And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, not to his descendants, nor according to his dominion which he ruled. For his kingdom shall be plucked up, even for others besides those. So now we have the 4 generals, which I have listed here. But, okay. So it's Cassandra, Lysimachus, Seleucus, and Ptolemy. Ptolemy the First. Now, the thing about these guys they are the 4 generals under Alexander the Great, who grew up with him from his youth. So before he died, he called them to his side, and he divided the kingdom among them. Now, the greatest of them is Ptolemy. Okay, so here we are. And verse 5. And the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes. Now, the king of the south, and there's 4 kings, so why are we only going to talk about 2 of them? Because they're the 2 that interacted with Israel in the middle. When they were having their battles, here's Israel in the middle. So it's only going to be talking about the king of the north and the king of the south. The east and the west are irrelevant to what we're going to be discussing, because this is about God's people, Israel. So we're going to just ignore the other 2 guys. So we're just going to be talking about Ptolemy, which is the king of the south, the king of Egypt. And then Seleucus, who is the king of the north, or the king of Syria. And throughout the verses, there are going to be different ones, different descendants of these 2 kings. There's also going to be marriages and alliances that are broken because the marriage has failed, and it's a lot of battling back and forth for power. So let's go with let me just read verse 5 again. And the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes. So he starts off, and then his son takes the position, because he comes, the king of the south shall be strong, and one of his princes. So one of the princes of the north, the king of the north. So, and he shall be strong above him, and have dominion, and his dominion shall be a great dominion. Now, verse 6. And in the end of years they shall join themselves together. For the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. But she shall not retain the power of the arm or the authority. Neither shall he stand, nor his authority. But she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that begat her, and he that strengthened her in these times. Now, this particular verse is talking about the princess Bernice of the south will be wed to the king of the north. And what happens is the king suddenly dies. They go in and they kill her and the heir, and her father that brought her there, and also her entourage that came with her. Verse 7. But out of a branch of her roots shall one stand up in his estate. One of her roots would be her brother. Her brother stands up. Which shall come with an army, and shall enter into the fortresses of the king of the north. So he's going to stand up in Ptolemy's place. And he is going to go into battle against the king of the north in Syria. And shall deal against him, and shall prevail. So he's going to beat him. Verse 8. And shall also carry captives into Egypt, their gods. So he's going to take the Seleucid gods. He's also going to take their princes, and with their precious vessels, or their vessels, or their idols of silver and of gold, and he shall continue more years than the king of the north. So now the king of the south in Egypt is ruling. Verse 9, so the king of the south shall come into his kingdom, and shall return into his own land. So the king of the south is going to go home. Verse 10, but his sons shall be stirred up, so his descendants, and shall assemble a multitude of great forces, and one shall certainly come and overflow and pass through. Then shall he return and be stirred up, even to his fortress. Then verse 11, and the king of the south shall be moved with anger, and shall come forth and fight with him, even with the king of the north. And he shall set forth a great multitude, but the multitude shall be given into his hand, his enemy's hand. So the king of the south. So the king of Egypt is going to defeat him. Verse 12, and when he hath taken away the multitude, his heart shall be lifted up, or proud, and he shall cast down many 10,000s. But he shall not be strengthened by it. Verse 13, for the king of the north shall return, and shall set forth a multitude greater than the former, and shall certainly come after certain years with a great army and much riches, or much equipment. Now, if you want to know more about this battle, you can go to 1 Maccabees and read about it. Verse 14, and that video is down below. And in those times there shall many stand up against the king of the south, which is Egypt. Also the robbers, or sons of breakage of thy people, shall exalt themselves to establish the vision, or in fulfillment of the vision, but they shall fall. So the king of the north shall come, now king of Syria, shall come and cast up a mount and take the most defenced cities, and the arms of the south shall not withstand, neither his chosen people, neither shall there be any strength to withstand. But he that cometh against him shall do according to his own will, and none shall stand before him, and he shall stand in the glorious land. Now here in Israel, which by his hand shall be consumed. So here he's bent on destruction of Israel. So verse 17, he shall also set his face to enter with the strength of his whole kingdom, and upright ones with him. Thus shall he do, and he shall give him the daughter of women, corrupting her. This is Israel. But she shall not stand on his side, neither be for him. Verse 18, after this shall he turn his faces upon the coastlands, and shall take many, but a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease. Without his own reproach, he shall cause it to turn upon him. Then he shall turn his face toward the fort of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall, and not be found. Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom in Israel, a raiser of taxes. But within a few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. Now verse 21 is where it gets serious. Now, what we have to realize is here in verse 21, all the way to, I think it's verse 36. Let me double check. I don't want to tell you wrong. Yes. Okay. Verse 21 to verse 36. This is like a forerunner, like a puny example of the Antichrist in the end times. Except he's not really that puny, but he is very vile. And he does a lot of horrible things to the children of Israel. Verse 21. But it aligns, it's very similar in the events, except that this vile person sets up the Zeus, sacrifices the pig, so he's not setting himself up as God, this Antiochus. But this one, Satan, he does set himself up as God, above God. So here, let's read this 21 through 36. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom. He took it by flatteries. But he shall come in peaceably. Similar. Peaceably. That's how Satan will come in. So this guy comes in peaceably. And obtain the kingdom by flatteries. He's going to lie. Same thing. And with the arms of a flood they shall be overthrown from before him, and shall be broken. These are the people of God, Israel. Yea, also the prince of the covenant. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully. Remember, Satan sets up a treaty, but in the middle of the week, which is the 7 years, he breaks the treaty. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up and shall become strong with a small people, or a small number of people. And he shall enter peaceably, even upon the fattest places of the province. So I think, according to this, we can expect Satan to come in wooing all the rich people. Because he says he comes in peace, he shall enter in peaceably, even upon the fattest places of the province, or the richest places of the province. And he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey, or the plunder, and spoil, or the booty, and riches. Yea, he shall forecast, or devise his plans against the strongholds, even for a time. And he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army, and the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army, but he shall not stand. Remember, I said the king of the north comes against the king of the south, but the king of the south enlists the help of the Romans. Here we are. Verse 25, and he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army. And the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army. But he shall not stand, for they shall forecast devices against him. Yea, they that feed the portion of his meat shall destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain. And both these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table. Here's this treaty thing, but it shall not prosper. For yet the end shall be at the time appointed. Then shall he return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant, and he shall do exploits or damage and return to his own land. And that's the king of the north. And at the time appointed he shall return and come toward the south, but it shall not be as former or as latter. For the ships of Chittim shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. This is where he is defeated on the seas by the Romans, and he's circled by the Roman general saying, what's it going to be? You going to, be subjects to us? But you got to decide before you step out the circle. Okay, so, for the ships of Chittim shall come against him, therefore he shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. So there's going to be some of the Jewish people who are going to fall in line with him. And the arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice. This is what Satan's going to do. And they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate, where he's going to put the false god in the temple of God. This is when Satan stands in the temple. This is the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet. Jesus also refers to the desolator. And he is pointing to Antioch because he's so similar to Satan and what he's going to do. It lines up. It's so crazy. Okay. So he shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall be corrupted by flatteries. They're going to just fall for it and think he's so great. When Satan comes, there's going to be people that are going to fall by his flatteries. It's going to be the great falling away. Many people are going to be deceived. But, verse 32, and such as do wickedly against the covenant shall be corrupt by flatteries, but the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits or take action. They are going to stand up against it if it costs them their life. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many. Yet they shall fall by the sword and by captivity, by flame and by spoil many days. The people of God are going to be massacred. Remember in Revelation, for 42 months he will be given power over the saints to hurt and kill. Verse 34, now when they shall fall, they shall be holpen, or helped with a little help. But many shall cleave to them, or join with them with flatteries by intrigue. And some of them of understanding shall fall, to try them, or refine them, and to purge, and make them white, even to the time of the end, because it is yet for a time appointed. Now we are in the future times, the times that are yet to come. This is talking about the Antichrist, Satan. Verse 36, and the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself, and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, capital G, God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished. for that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. Now, here's a thought. Put your thinking cap on when you consider this. Neither shall he regard the God, uppercase G, of his fathers. This could be someone of Jewish descent. Nor the desire of women, meaning they could be homosexual. Nor regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. Now in Revelation chapter 6, when the one, hold on a second, I got to go there. I can't just call it off the top of my head. Got too much going on in this brain right now. Okay, we are in Revelation, the final book in the New Testament. And we are in chapter 6, verse 2. And I saw and behold a white horse. This is what Jesus is going to come on, a white horse. Satan is imitating God at every turn. And he that sat on him had a bow, a rainbow. Think a rainbow, okay? But this word translates back to the Greek as fabric. Think rainbow fabric. And a crown was given him. And this crown is translated into corona. And he went forth conquering and to conquer. But he comes in peaceably. Don't forget that part. So here in verse 37, it could be telling us that Satan is going to be possibly a Jew who is a homosexual. Just saying. Verse 38. You can mill that around in your mind. You can decide for yourself what you believe. Okay? Verse 38. And in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, the God of power, and a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds, and with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory. And he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain or profit. And at a time of the end shall the king of the south, Egypt, push at him, and the king of the north, Syria, shall come against him like a whirlwind with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships, and he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over. Verse 41. He shall enter also into the glorious land, Israel. And many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand, even Edom and Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon, or the most prominent people of Ammon. He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt. And the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his steps. They'll be running around behind him. But tidings out of the east and out of the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy, and to utterly to make away many. It's going to just kill a lot of people. And he shall plant the tabernacles. And the tabernacles are the tents of his palace, between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. And that will take us to chapter 12 of Daniel, God willing, tomorrow. And as always, I love you.